You have just stepped into the Midlife Revolution, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis. And we're two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we're here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating career shifts, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution. Hey, it's already March the 12th. And good morning. It is wonderful. We are in the season of the ending of winter. And, I want to let folks know that you are a part of our Midlife Revolution. I am Coach Wayne. I help men of color level up so that their second half can be their best half. Along with me today is my co-host, Stacy M. Lewis. Stacy, good morning.
Good morning, Coach Wayne. It is always such a pleasure to be here. Certainly want to welcome everyone to the Midlife Revolution podcast number 3. We're so excited that you've been able to join us today or catch the replay. We certainly want to welcome our social listening community. Shout out to all of those that are able to watch us live or catch our replay. Please don't hesitate to give us your comments. As Coach Wayne said, I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis. It is indeed such a thrill to be here. My focus in the coaching realm is on midlife women of color, really looking to help them live their best life, live a life they love, and really play their biggest game. So it's an exciting opportunity to seize the season, not only the spring season, which I'm excited about, but also just this season of life that we are in. So let's jump in, Coach Wayne.
Absolutely. Now, Stacy, I had the wonderful occasion, along with my wife, Audrey, to visit with family this past weekend in New York. Now, I was in New York for 30 years before I moved to sunny Florida. So as we talk about seasons, let me tell you something. I was not prepared. I had forgotten how thin my blood had gotten leaving New York. And I went there in this light fleece jacket. My daughter looked at me and just started cracking up and said, "Daddy, you're going to freeze." And was she right? So part of what that reminds me as we're talking and segueing today into midlife seasoning is we have to make sure that we're prepared and we know what's gone before and what's coming thereafter. But I was not prepared. Ironically, I wound up leaving that jacket at the security area at the airport. I was just so over the place. But talking about seasoning, midlife season, I'm going to tell you that earlier on in my younger years, Stacy, I was one of those cats who came out of school and grad school, and it was so important as we all are trying to test ourselves, our mettle, see what we're made of. And so, as I like to say, we're chasing shiny objects, planting flags, trying to, just see what we can do in terms of how much we can accumulate and what we can get. And for me at the time, I didn't focus so much on fulfillment and quality, more on how much and quantity. How was your earlier seasons, Stacy?
Such a great question. So much of my earlier season was spent comparing myself to other women, thinking about what I can do with what I don't have instead of what I could do with what I do have. And really climbing and striving to succeed, to demonstrate, to show a level of worth, professional worth, personal worth, that I honestly didn't always feel. And looking back, I can see those moments where I didn't necessarily know my worth. And so while I was in a season of sowing seeds, hopefully that would grow my professional prowess, I wasn't always in the season of sowing the seeds within me that would really help me to blossom as a person, as a woman. And so, reflecting back, I think that there's so much that I've learned now, and that's why I'm so excited about being where I am, the age I am, and to celebrating with the community of other people, just the joy, the beauty, the gift of midlife.
Yeah. And I want to take it a little bit farther back, Stacy,
Oh,
really back. Now,
going back. He's going back, y'all.
I remember as a teen how difficult I made it for my parents to kind of manage me, meaning that was a season where I was testing and finding myself. As the old people say, you're smelling yourself, right?
Mhm.
I was pushing back the limits, pushing back the value systems that I had been raised, seeking for that independence and that identity of self, right? And so I remember that season where it was about discovery and exploration and taking risk. And I was that teenager that was a bag of issues until another season climbed in where I became a little more mature, maybe in my mid 20s, and started really testing the metal of adulting, right? And, they say that we go through a crisis at the end of that period, somewhere between our 28th and 32nd ish
Mm.
birthday.
Mhm.
Uh, we go through this crisis, quarter life crisis, where we're wondering, am I good enough? And we're comparing ourselves, as you said earlier, with the neighbors, not so much looking at ourselves. I would like to see, Stacy, I would like to see if folks in the chat went through that unsteady season themselves in their early years. If you went through that season in your early years of not being sure of who you were and competing with others, put a 1 in the chat, please.
Such a great such a great segue, really, because thinking back, how many of us weren't those young people, right? Those adolescents, those young adults that were giving our parents the run for it. Chad has certainly put that 1 in the comment, and it's just so very interesting that we've all been there. The question is, what did we learn, right? And how did we optimize that? You talked about that 28 to 32. I at that time in my life, I was now a mom, to a very, very small and dependent human being. And so making that transition for me was definitely a swift kick, once you're now responsible for some other people.
Yeah, yeah. And when we look at what's happening with us as human beings, we literally go through, Maslow has this pyramid of needs where
Mm-hmm.
in our early years in particular, for some people that goes on forever, we're worried about security, we're worried about safety, providing the basic necessities, food, housing, shelter. And when we become young adults, that's the season where we're taking care of those issues, right? Before we move up to the next level, where we're beginning to go to higher orders of things, and we're forming ourselves. Listen, I had my first house very early on, and I thought I was the man. And as time went on, right, I started questioning in my late 30s. I started questioning because I saw young people chasing right behind me, Stacy, I started questioning how long could I keep this race with others? And was it that important? Not until in my 40s, a new season sort of dawned on me when I recognized that this race was really about self. You know, how could I become my best self,
Well
irrespective
said.
of who was on my tail or who had kind of set a path in front of me? The race was on myself. So that's the season that I think a lot of us in midlife start paying attention to our own vulnerability to the stages ahead of us.
Yeah. So when you said you realized in your 40s that you were racing yourself, what would you now say to that 40-year-old young man? Right? Because we do want to remember that part of our listening audience might be questioning whether they are midlife. But there's such wisdom there now that you can look back. What would you tell your 40-year-old self?
You know, my father was 40 years old and my mother was, what, 39 when they had me. So
Mm-hmm.
my parents were much older. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do some of the things that the vitality of younger parents capture with their kids, but we were blessed with love. But like I didn't go, you know, skydiving with my dad and all that. But we did a lot of things together. But I always saw my father as the older man, a much older man. I thought when I was a kid, my father, 40, was old man style for me. And so was my mom, respectfully. And when I got to 40, I started recognizing that, especially in these days, uh, a century ago, the end of the last century, 50 was considered real old age, right? But now at 40, we are truly living longer. I think for Black men, it's an average of 76 or so uh, in terms of the time span for our living.
Mm-hmm.
Women a little bit longer. But here's the thing: it means that at 40, you're at half life. Think about that, Stacy. I would have folks understand that at 40 years old, you have another half to go. If you understand that you have another half to go, then it's time to start really planting new seeds because your harvest is still ahead of you when you think of it that way, Stacy. So that's the advice I would give folk. Look for opportunities to learn more and renew yourself. Plant seeds.
I love that. And as a woman, I think looking back, not planting the seeds is also tapping into your aspirations and your dreams. In at 40, I was certainly focused on my career. Important. I'm still working today, thank God. And I was really looking to continue to move up. And I forgot about my dreams, my other aspirations. And so if I were to look back at myself and or have a conversation with myself at 40, I would say, what are your dreams? They still matter. And it's time to start planting seeds to cultivate that dream. Even if a seed looks like taking a class or a course or finding a mentor, say, that is an entrepreneur or a chief executive officer, whatever your aspiration, your dream is, to really start to continue to cultivate that. Don't lose sight of your dreams, of your aspirations, because you are on this one pursuit. It was very important to me to succeed as a professional. I say in my bio, and I have no shame that when I had my son, I was on public assistance, what we call back then welfare. And the reality was that was for me an opportunity to continue to rise. Whereas, there are a lot of stereotypes out there about social services and what people are doing. And I'm not about that. It for me was an opportunity to say, it's time to rise. What are my dreams? And I think that as I then pursued them, I would have continued to look back and say, or to remind myself to cultivate new dreams, think about new dreams, because it's not just this moment in time being 40 and 45. It is looking forward and saying, ooh, where do I see my life in 10 years? Where do I see my life in 20 years? And how can I start to back out a plan that I can really start to work? So that's what I would say. That was a little long-winded, but that's what I would say. Thank you so much, Chad. Aspirations into manifestations.
Love it, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
As Chad talked about aspiration and manifestations, and you also talked about planting seeds to go after the vision and not giving up. I'm reminded that in my earlier years, it was important to think about what people thought about me. So, we always lead our conversations with a business card. People say,
Yes.
well, who are you? And we are quick to hand a business card as if who we are is denoted by what we do or the title that's been given to us. I think as we get older in this midlife season, it's more important to start identifying with our being and becoming rather than our doing.
Oof.
And so part of what, even as men, one of the questions that I get oftentimes in terms of what are the roles that we as men occupy, because it's changing and they don't know. Back in the day, people would say, you provide and protect. And now that's a doing thing, isn't it? But to become and being is really about looking at elevating and connecting to your purpose. And so when we talk about becoming, it's important for us to have that level of awareness as we get, I don't want to say aging, but saging, as we go through the process of saging, to recognize that our purpose, we're driven through purpose, and it's important for us to fulfill that so that we can have that sense of completeness, right? The stage of becoming as we manifest into that in this season.
Yes. I that was so good, Wayne. That stage of being, right? Acknowledging that your identity is not in the business card. Your identity is not in what you are doing. It is in who you are being, who you were created to be, and how you are showing up as that being in the world, right? In the professional space, in the church, in your home, how you are really manifesting that being, and how you are authentically embracing that being, so that you can, like you said, really think about and tap into that being and the aspirations that you have, that you can then live out your purpose. And that to me is a beautiful thing about this season of life, being able to take all of the lived experiences to making those mistakes of wrapping our identity up in the job, in what other people are thinking and saying about us, and moving into embracing who we are, our authentic selves, and living out that being on a daily basis. And honoring that and appreciating that from a sense of gratitude, is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Paul, thank you so much. You talked about being is where it's at. Chad, our focus should be meaningful relationships and who we can pour into and who can pour into us. We talked
Yes.
a little bit about it last week, didn't we, Stacey, about relationships and the importance. And Chad, you're absolutely correct. At this stage of the game, in this season, we can boast the fact that we have a journey a little bit ahead of our counterparts that are in other groups younger than us, where relationships have been built. In fact, for the most part, more relationships because you've been out there longer. And we talked about how you qualify those relationships and the importance of making sure that the relationships are nurturing and mutually beneficial so that you're growing and the other person is growing. It's in this season, it's what are we planting? And they say if you want to sit in a shady tree, the best time to plant the tree is yesterday. But now, if we missed yesterday, right, so that we can have it. And we sometimes may not sit in the shades tree, but part of what we do, if we talk about the wisdom of aging, is to be able to leave something bigger, better, and bolder for those who come behind us. And now we know we have a history of falling in the pitfalls, of getting back up and understanding where those mind fields are so that we can leave sort of a map for others to follow.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I also believe that, one of the gifts, right? Both you and I have a heart of service. And one of the gifts of technology today and really being able to be here and have this conversation is to not only provide shade for those that are younger, but to also provide opportunity to plant for those that are our age and for those that are even a little older, right? It's not too late. It's not too late to plant that tree. It's not too late to cultivate the soil. It's not too late to continue to sow into something so that you can reap a new harvest. And I think too often, even some of the women that I coach, come in with that feeling like I've made these mistakes. This has happened. This is where I am. And, now I'm 50. Now I'm 55. Now I'm 62. And it's too late. But it's not. It's not too late. I don't think I could say that enough. It's not too late for those of us in this age group to continue to move forward, to dream new dreams, to aspire to new things, and to rise. Wayne says he'll see you at the top.
Yeah. This is not a season for resignation. It's a season for resurrection, right? And certainly a season for respite as well. A time to sit back and to reflect on where we've been and look at how we traject to where we want to be, need to be, so that we can have that sense of completion and fulfillment, right? So that we recognize, as you talked about, how we serve something, our why should become clearer, so that we're living a life beyond just our ego self. We're tapping into, as we put it, our spiritual self, our calling. My friend Sean Dove speaks to me all the time. He says, do not stop stalling your calling. And a lot of us have lived this life where up until now, we were just meeting the bills, taking care of the kids' needs, doing the things that we thought mattered. And then we recognize that we have a life where we want more of everything, more satisfaction, more peace, more profit, more prosperity, more of everything. And we cannot and should not deny ourselves and just resign to the idea that, well, I'm too old, it's too late. It's never too old and never too late to plant those seeds.
No, and I think your utilization of the word more for women this idea of living beneath their possibilities is very real. And it is that calling, that deeper yearning for more fulfillment, for more recognition of our innate power, for more visibility, for more ability to stand in who we are and play our biggest game. So I think that just spoke to me a little bit.
Yeah. A Harvard study some time ago, not too old, I don't remember the exact date, around founders and organizations, where it said, I think, in the United States, a significant amount of employers hire younger people because of their savviness with technology. And this is the world we're in. And as far as founders go for organization, I think 37% or 30 odd percent of the founders are folks that are younger than midlife. But the over 50 group had more sustainability with organizations that they had founded, and the companies that had older heads, as it were, tended to have more sustainability in terms of innovation and direction. What am I saying? There's a place for folks who are older to be involved and to collaborate and integrate with the younger folks, the millennials, the Zers, who are even technology-wise driven and usually a little bit more ahead of the game. They were born into it. Then, listen, we have a history of seeing the patterns. We have a history. We know where the bodies are. And so a lot of times folks come up with ideas, but it's not sustainable because it's not based on anything gone. So I think that's another thing that we have to recognize as midlifers, that we come with a package of know-how and history to add to the game.
We still have so much to contribute. And I applaud the fact that in particular in the LinkedIn community, I also see it on Facebook and on YouTube, where we are elevating the voice of I'm here now, and all of those experiences allow me to contribute in a way that a 30-year-old cannot. It doesn't mean that the 30-year-old can't contribute, but I can contribute in a way based on, as you were saying, in alignment with the Harvard study, in a way that is taking all that I've learned, the pitfalls that I've seen, the bodies that have been buried, and I guess I was a witness, and that's how I know where they are. But knowing all of that allows me to step into a conversation in a way and make a decision based on this much broader experiential view. And I hope that folks, younger generations, appreciate that. We want to make sure that we are all working together. Our job, our role, our heart is to also see them rise, right? Is to see our people rise. And so we want to be able to contribute in a way that's meaningful and in a way that's fulfilling to us. And so that was spot on.
Thank you, Stacy. We're there. We're at the half an hour mark, and certainly wanted to say this was uplifting, inspiring, reminded me that we are here to stay in terms of whether we're living it now or we're planning to leave that legacy. So as we wrap up, we want to invite and thank our listening and viewing audience is to tune in next week, same time, same place, for more on Midlife Revolution, Stacy. And stay tuned so that you can see how to connect with me, Coach Wayne, and Coach Stacy for some one-on-one work. We'll
Absolutely. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you all so much for joining us.
And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution. Hey, we truly appreciate you spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
Don't forget, if today's episode resonated with you, share your thoughts and suggest topics in the comments. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, and hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.